What's up, everybody? It is week 14 here on Big Blue Avenue. I'm your host, Tom Scavetta, joined alongside my awesome co-host, Sam Cardona. Sam, big news today. Excited to chop it up for the Giants. Yes, 4-8 down year, all fine, but Tommy DeVito named the starting quarterback for the New York Giants for week 14 and probably going forward. So how are you doing? How are you salivating this news right now? What's going on?
Well, I'm doing well, and I'm very stoked about this. I think that this is super exciting news, and just kind of keeping up that DeVito confidence that we've been talking about the last couple of weeks here. We had our bye week. We're getting our rest in before Monday Night Football. I'm excited to see what's to come.
Super stoked for Tommy. A little bummed out for as well. It's likely the end of the line for him in New York and potentially his pro career. But you heard Dable say it in his press conference today. Tommy DeVito earned this. He really did. Tommy Cutlets, that is, has taken the whole tri-state area by storm. New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, his college in Illinois, Syracuse, you name it. Everyone's rooting for him, Sam. So we're all stoked. The way we ended the show last week, check out our new Twitter banner or X banner, whatever you want to call it now. Our Twitter banner, we're doing a little
oh, I didn't even know you changed it.
The hand pulse sign, the hand purse sign. But folks, if you like what you watch, make sure to check us out on our social media at Big Blue Avenue, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We appreciate everyone for supporting us through and through the whole season. We have a special guest tonight. Andrew Scarpaci will be joining us in about 5 to 6 minutes or so to talk about Giants Packers, his red hot. Got some more good news for the folks at home. Oshane Ximines has been released from the practice squad. Finally, after spending 5 years as a Giant, Oshane's time as a Giant comes to an end. And Sam, I am a nut for taking note of this. There are just 18 Dave Gettleman players remaining on this roster right now. I'm reading it off my phone after the releases of Chris Myrick and Oshane Ximines.
There you go.
Yeah.
New GM in town. It's time to start clearing out the old stuff and bringing in the new.
That's right. And I think another thing we want to talk about too is the Giants releasing Jacob Eason from the practice squad. They waived quarterback Matt Barkley from the active 53-man roster, but Brian Dable said they're waiting for Barkley to clear waivers. If he clears, he'll be back as the third QB on the practice squad. Sam, just to dive a little bit more deeply into this, why do you think Tommy DeVito should start the final 5 games of the regular season?
Well, first things first, something we talked about last week. A big thing for me right now is the fact that he's got control of this team right now. Everybody loves him. Saquon loves him. We're on a 2-game win streak. We're coming off of this bye week. I feel like he has this potential to keep going. He has, that new quarterbackness to him in terms of, there's not a lot of tape to go off of right now, too. Defenses can't prepare for him as much. We can kind of have fun with it right now, too, because, yes, there is still a possibility that we end up in a wild card spot, but it's not in, you know, it's not, we're not seeing it very clearly right now. It's not impossible, but still. But I think it's, they're having fun with it. We're still winning games. He's bringing up morale. And yes, and I said this to you this afternoon, I super respect Tyrod Taylor and his career. I respect what he's done for us as a Giants quarterback. I have a lot of respect for Tyrod Taylor in terms of everything he's gone through in his career, but the sun is setting. It's time for him to start packing it up soon. And it's time to lead in this new guy who's probably going to be our backup for a while. I can't see Tommy DeVito being our starter going into next year. But to end off this season, which has been kind of crappy, with a little bit of a morale boost and this exciting Tommy Cutlets, local kid doing what he needs to do, I like it. So I'm happy we're starting him, and I think just that in and of itself, talent and stats aside, that's a main reason why he should stay a starting quarterback for us.
Yeah, I'm with you. I know texting before earlier in the day can be a little confusing. Full agreement with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think, though, having Tyrod ready in case something happens to DeVito, I'm much more comfortable than a comment from John Suggs. And if we were betting, the odds of this comment would probably be like plus 10,000. You don't believe Jacob Eason could be better than DeVito? No, I don't. Reason why? He has yet been able to stick on an NFL roster. Now, granted, DeVito got the opportunity due to injury, but we have to remember something too, that Tommy DeVito made the most of his opportunity. Jacob Eason has had opportunities through the 3+ years he's been in the NFL now, and he hasn't really shown anything rather than a guy that you bounce around from practice squad to practice squad, unfortunately. He was also behind Matt Barkley, John, so the Giants were basically just using him as a body to fill the void for the time being. So that's my response to that. Quickly here, Darren Waller, also eligible from years activated yet. We don't know if he'll play Sunday, but I'm excited about that potentially. Everybody stayed healthy over the bye week. Very happy about that. And Sam, I just kind of want to get your brief thoughts here on the surface. Green Bay Packers, Monday Night Football, final primetime game of the year for the Giants. Thank God. 6-6. They're favored by 6.5 on a 3-game winning streak. Apparently, they're one of the hottest teams in the league right now. They hold the number 7 seed in the NFC playoff picture, and they just beat the Chiefs by 8 points on Sunday Night Football. Jordan Love threw 3 touchdown passes. They're really, really good over these last 3 weeks. They might be the hottest team in the NFC.
Yeah, no, they have surprised a lot of people this year. Jordan Love has started to come into his own over this course of this year. It started a little shaky, but I am very impressed with the Packers. I was super impressed with that Sunday night game. I think I would say almost everybody went into that game expecting the Chiefs to win. But huge win, huge confidence boost as well. And they're dealing with a lot of injuries as well. There's no Aaron Jones. Jordan Love is working with what he's got. I mean, AJ Dillon is still a good running back to have, but it's a lot of obstacles he's overcoming, and he's still winning games. And they're still competing. A lot of people wrote out the Packers this past year because Aaron left, but Jordan Love, he sat for all those years, and he's showing like, yes, I sat, and yes, I learned, and I'm doing what I need to do on the field right now. A week ago, if you asked me about this, I would not have been as scared going into this game. But after seeing the Packers beat the Chiefs, I'm a little bit more nervous going into this game. I'm not. I think I said like a week ago that this was a winnable game, and now I'm not so sure.
Yeah. I don't want to give away my pick, but I sort of alluded to it last week, that I think the Packers are the better football team right now. Even though the Giants have won 2 in a row, the Packers have also won 3 of the last 4 matchups. Last one at home against Green Bay was 2013. They did play last year in London, the game where
That's
they
right.
had that awesome comeback, and Daniel Bellinger had that rushing touchdown, I think it was.
Yes.
Um, but Sam, Tommy DeVito, Tyrod Taylor, DJ, whoever it is, the Giants still have the worst offense scoring wise in the National Football League. Let's not kid ourselves here. The Giants beat the 2-10 Patriots 2-8 at the time, 10-7. So that's nothing to ride home about. They beat the Commanders twice. They're a dumpster fire right now. And they beat Arizona thanks to a ridiculous comeback by Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and company. So those are our 4 wins. If you do the math, I don't know if we're beating the Packers. There's a lot to dive through. Maybe going through the show tonight and hearing you and Andrew's thoughts will change my opinion, but let's see. Speaking of Andrew, let's bring him up. I believe first-time guest of Big Blue Avenue, huge Green Bay Packers fan, huge Aaron Rodgers fan. I know the post-Aaron Rodgers era has been a little bit tricky, but Andrew Scarpaci, co-host of the Santa Maria podcast and Green Bay Packers superfan, joins the show live from the Long Island University radio station. Andrew, how are you doing? Welcome. Audio, Andrew.
I don't think we can hear you.
We'll give you a couple seconds to sort that out, and we'll probably remove you until you get it sorted out. But yeah, we'll get back to him in just a moment. But we as well. John Suggs says Packers 24-13. Sam, that's fair. I can't really argue against it just yet. I mean, again, we have to earn respect back.
Yeah, 100%. And again, like I think I was riding a confidence wave, thinking that we were just going to waltz into this Packers game and win. But to be honest, though, I'm not going to lie. I still think that we can have like a moment where we're competing. Like I don't think that there's going to be a time where it's going to be completely Packers and not us at all. I genuinely think that there's going to be a little bit of a competition here, which I think is why we haven't been flexed out of Monday Night Football yet.
I'd like to see DeVito do well against the Packers. He's shown good flashes this season. And Sam, I'm with you. I think that DeVito thing has kind of helped resurrect the Giants season.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah, I know hand motion there. Sean Militello, Tom was like, you got to go. You know what, Sean? Hey, we're playing you guys next week. So if you want to hop on for a few minutes, feel free. Let us know. I'd be happy to have you and talk about some pastry ingredients with you. Sean's a big pastry guy and a big Saints fan. But anyway, you know what? I think the Giants are going to keep it close this week, Sam. I think if we get pressure on Jordan Love, relying a lot on Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari finally being healthy, he needs to step it up a little bit. I mean, David Bakhtiari has not been healthy this year, so the Packers have really struggled, like us, mixing and matching with their offensive line. It's definitely better than ours, but I do think there are some holes there that Wink Martindale could potentially exploit. I mean, we've seen how far the defense has come along. I mean,
yes.
Look, there was no way and top draft pick with how well this defense is.
Yeah, no, the defense has shown immense progress in these past few weeks. Like we have been seeing, I mean, first of all, Bobby O is out here just killing it for us. Like he is the linebacker we've been waiting for. As my Blake Martinez jersey sits in a pile over here, sad. But he's the linebacker we've been waiting for. The secondary is getting better. They're putting points on the board as well. They're turning the ball over and giving us more options to get points on the board. I think defense is going to be a huge part. I know we're not into keys of the game yet, but I think defense is going to be a huge part of this game on both sides of the ball, in terms of Packers and Giants. But like I said, I think that this game, I don't know how much we're going to win this game, but I think it's going to be a competition.
Sean's coming in. There we go, Sam. Sean, happy to have you on next week. Appreciate you. Also, a big LSU sports fan. Check out Sean at Off the Dome Sports. John also say Tom must have Starlink internet. Yeah, Sean, not Sean. John gave a clear warning tonight. Downstairs in the basement, internet might come in and out here and there. Sam will keep me true on that. Dable also mentioned in his presser today, Sam, just to stall here for a moment, Dexter Lawrence still not practicing. And I think if you're the Packers offensive line, like we were just talking about, that's a sigh of relief a little bit if Lawrence can't go. Because I think with A.J. Dillon, the Giants have really good linebackers at the second level. But if Lawrence is out, that might change the game plan a little bit where he's able to get through the DTs where you have to go up again and DJ Davidson and Robinson rather than Dexter. And I think Dexter, in my opinion, he's still the best player on the team.
He is. He definitely is. Dexter Lawrence is one of the biggest losses we could have to not be playing in the game. And I think you're right. 100% it changes the game plan. But I still think that there are pieces of this defense that can step up and fill in that hole. Not exactly how Dexter would be if he was there, but I do think that it's possible that the defense can play to a level that we're still going to do what we need to do as a defense, even without Dexter Lawrence. But having Dexter there, of course, is much better. I'd rather have him there. But I think that Wink and this defense is capable of moving some pieces around, figuring out a game plan and making it work.
I agree. Dexter's an awesome player. He's definitely one of my players to watch. Folks, we do apologize. We'll get Andrew try to get try to log back in now. But yeah, I mean, the Packers have also seen their fair share of injuries this year. We saw Christian Watson get a little banged up in the Sunday night football game, hamstring issue. Their rookie tight end, Luke Musgrave, has an abdomen injury that's going to keep him out for a while. And Sam, their two starting corners, Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes. Both of those guys, I believe both former first-round picks. So that's definitely concerning if Green Bay doesn't have either of them. I don't know if you saw this on Sunday Night Football. Corey Ballantyne was starting for Green Bay.
I did see that, and I was like, wait a second. Like, I had like a moment that I was like, am I having a fever dream? Like, I didn't even remember about him until I saw his nameplate. I was like, oh my God, Corey Ballantyne. What a blast from the past.
And the other corner's name, I think, very similar. So I think Carrington Valentine is his name, and you have Corey Ballantyne. So
look at that.
That's not on many people's bingo cards. Crazy. Trying to see. You mentioned Aaron Jones before. That's another guy that's hasn't played much for Green Bay this year too. But yeah, I mean, I guess for now we can get into keys to the game a little bit. I think you have to take deep shots early. What do you think, Sam? I think Hyatt and Slayton have both been favored a lot in this new offense, and I think both have a lot of potential to burn those two corners. I think if the Packers have one defensive weakness, it's those two guys.
I would definitely jump on that fact as well. I would jump on the fact that, you don't have your starters out there, and Jalen Hyatt is somebody who's been doing better, especially with a deep ball to begin with. So giving that ball out there early, plus getting 7 to 14 points on the board in the first quarter, the first half is a big deal for the Giants. Like putting that many points on the board right off the bat would be a huge confidence boost. And I think it gives them a little bit of a cushion. And when we're struggling and constantly going uphill and constantly trying to keep up with the team that's scoring points and we're not being able to keep up, to have that jump out in front, I think that that's the best way to tackle, especially a game like this where there are vulnerabilities that we can capitalize on, like a weak secondary.
Yeah. Another thing too, defensively for them, They do have a good front seven, which is why I mentioned their back four, those two corners specifically. I mean, Rashawn Gary is a guy that I'm worried about a little bit. I mean, the Giants, obviously, this is a key every week, protecting the quarterback, DeVito, going up against a defense that averages 2.5 sacks per game. If you give time for some separation to our earlier point, Isaiah Hodgins has been sprinkled in more frequently, and not having Alexander or Stokes can cause a lot of issues. So I think if John Michael Schmitz can handle Kenny Clark, which I think might cause a problem because I know our good old friend Gabe Flayton mentioned Kenny Clark's name a lot on his old show, The North Pole. Yeah, I think John Michael Schmitz and Andrew Thomas really have to help wrap this offensive line around together. It's gotten better, but there's still areas of improvement that need to be addressed for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And to have a strong offensive line, I know that you mentioned that they're a little bit similar to us in the fact that, you know, they are dealing with people coming in and out and injuries and so on and so forth. But it's very obvious that Jordan Love is able to get done what he needs to get done as a quarterback. We saw that on Sunday night. We've been seeing it the last couple of weeks. And they're making that happen for their quarterback, which is something we've been preaching for weeks, whether it was Daniel Jones, Tyrod Taylor, or Tommy DeVito. We have constantly been talking about giving the quarterback time because these guys are getting open down the field. Jalen Hyatt is getting open down the field. Isaiah Hodgins, they're there. It's just a matter of whether or not they get the ball in their hands. And obviously, Tommy DeVito got sacked like 10 times. It's not an ideal situation, but it's obvious that he has the potential right now to get that ball down the field and just do his job and do what he needs to do. So, kind of take a page out of the Packers book here for a second if you really want to in terms of offensive line. And, it's always going to be a huge major key, especially for the rest of the season. Protect these quarterbacks where they're dropping like flies. We only have so many. We gotta keep this one safe specifically because he's working for us. So like that's the kind of guy that we need to protect.
Shots now on this offense. So, in order for the Giants to have success, you have to account for guys on the back line for Green Bay, in the trenches specifically. Kenny Clark, who's been a great mentor to Devontae Wyatt, rookie DT out of Georgia. But Kenny Clark, 4.5 sacks on the season. Rashawn Gary's another guy that I really like too. Sam for Green Bay, he's been very impressive. 9 sacks and 2 forced fumbles. And Preston Smith, that whole front four with Wyatt, Clark, Gary, and Smith, that really does scare me a lot because Preston Smith has been there forever.
Yeah.
You got 2 rookies in Carl Brooks and first-round pick Lucas Van Ness, who doesn't even start. Like their front line is good for like the next 5 years at least. That's really in my opinion, the strongest area of their team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Rashawn Gary, I remember when he got drafted by the Packers and I was rooting for him so hard. Like he was one of those stories that we were paying attention to and he had this really incredible, draft journey. I remember him crying on the phone when he got the call and he has always been consistent for this Packers, and I think he's only gotten better. So he's definitely a huge player to watch, and I'm glad that we're bringing him up because I feel like people don't talk about him as much as they should be because he's an excellent player. And in terms of maybe some underrated people on this team, or maybe not underrated, but people to definitely look out for. Romeo Doubs was somebody who's always open for Jordan Love. And people will think Christian Watson first, I think, a lot of the time, but Romeo is always there. Like that's his guy. So definitely someone to double coverage, perhaps. Keep an eye on. Make sure he doesn't get the ball deep down the field because he's going to be a huge threat.
Yeah. Romeo Dobbs leads them in touchdowns this year. That's a great pick. He also has at least 30 yards in each of his last 5 games receiving. I like Jordan Love too. Jordan Love has near identical stats to Jalen Hurts. He really is that good this year. Yes, he's thrown 10 interceptions, but in his last 3 games, Sam, and for the folks watching, he has thrown 8 touchdowns and no interceptions. He has 4 3-touchdown pass games this season. I mean, Sam, the guy is turnover free, and I think a lot of that is due to himself playing better because his receivers all that they're developing and getting better. But Jordan Love has taken on a lot of the criticism, but now that they're doing well, he's taking on all the praise, right? I mean, the quarterback position, that's how it is. And I think Jordan Love should be getting more talk around the league and for what he's done this season and what he's done to turn around Green Bay for sure. That's one guy on Green Bay that I'm looking at offensively.
Yeah, definitely. As someone who just faced him in fantasy last week, he had, he's very, very good. I did still win this week in that league, so I'll just go out and say that. But I was a little nervous because he was putting up major points. So yeah, I'm very impressed with Jordan Love. Again, like his season started a little shaky, and people were, constantly doubting him and comparing him to Aaron Rodgers and who he could be. But hey, we got Andrew.
How you doing, everyone? My bad for the technical difficulties. You gotta work with what I got here.
It's all good. It happens.
All good. We'll keep you posted. Sam, why don't you finish your point on Jordan Love and the Packers there, and then we will get to the Packers fan himself, Andrew Scarpaci.
I was just going to finish up saying, he was constantly getting compared to guys and is, starting off his career and, he's been sitting for a while. So I'm just saying I'm happy to see him thriving in the way that he is. I don't want him to thrive on Monday Night Football, but in the rest of his career, I'm very impressed with the way that he's been playing because, again, he's been dealing, it's not like a Brock Purdy situation where he's given this insane offense where it's like you could be anybody really to play on this 49ers team. But he's given what he's given and he's working with what he's got. And I think that he's doing a really good job.
No, absolutely. Very high on your quarterback, Andrew. And let's start you specifically. What has gone differently over the last few weeks for Green Bay? I know a lot of the games have been close this year, but what have you liked? 3 wins in a row. You're getting a lot of positive talk now and beat around the team. What's going on up in Green Bay?
Well, I think everyone is finally playing as one. This offensive grouping that all year long it's been inconsistent. Jordan Love's play is a little bit inconsistent. They finally have a crew of receivers where everyone's doing their job. Everyone has their effective routes. And I don't even want to say it yet because I know what everyone's going to say, but that Aaron Rodgers magic in years that we used to feel just he throws prayers up somehow, some ways, someone comes down with it. That's what we're seeing. I'm not saying Jordan Love is playing like Aaron Rodgers, but the other night, the 4th and inches, throw to Dobbs, 30 yards down the field, the touchdown a couple plays later to Watson. These are just plays that anybody else watching, I watch a lot of Jet games, Zach Wilson throws something up, it's just, oh no. But when Aaron Rodgers did it, it's like, this is going to work. Something magical is going to happen here. And that's what it feels like right now. Jordan Love is just getting that luck. I don't even want to call it luck, but he's just doing everything right in those situations to make it look like someone is doing something spectacular.
Yeah, agreed. Let's get to the next question. I'll throw it to Sam here. Sam, why don't you take it away with Matt LaFleur?
Matt LaFleur, what a stat we have here. Undefeated in the month of December as the Packers head coach. So I'm kind of curious, you as a fan going into this game, do you think that the Packers can continue to run this December table, or do you think that's going to end at some point?
No, I do think so. If you asked me even the week prior, I would have said, okay, we can afford a loss to the Chiefs if we win out. And as a Packers fan, that's what I was hoping for. I thought they had a chance to beat the Chiefs. I wanted to believe so. But as soon as that game started, it looked like we had a shot, and it did the rest of the way. We'll break down that game a little bit more. But I think if we can beat the Chiefs, we can beat anybody. That's my opinion at this point, because coming into the season, I thought the Chiefs were the best team in football, and we're going to repeat as Super Bowl champs. And I think if we beat them, we can definitely beat, I'm sorry to say it, but the Giants, the Bears, Carolina. The only team that worries me is the Vikings. Yes, they beat us once, but we can even afford to lose to them and still make the playoffs. But I think that Vikings game is going to really be our testament to what this team is about, because playing that Vikings game is going to feel like a playoff game, considering we already lost to them once, and they're right in front of us in the standings because of that head-to-head victory tiebreaker margin. So I think if we beat Minnesota, that sets the tone as not the lowest seed in the NFC, but a really good chance to really compete for one of those top wildcard spots, or even with Detroit. They don't really look that good as of late. But I think after beating the Chiefs, we can definitely win out. But the Vikings game is going to be that big one that I think is really going to be the test of really what this team is about.
So let's just run through the schedule quick, right? You got Tampa Bay after us, and you got Carolina at Minnesota, home against the Bears. I'm going to be honest with you. I think you win out. And I'm not saying that just because you're on the show. I think the schedule really favors you. The NFC South is a joke. I think Baker has played a lot better this year. I think the Bucs might be your toughest matchup, not named the Vikings, left on the schedule. I think you take care of the Bears. I mean, you own the Bears. You struggle against Minnesota. You usually split them, though, and you've already lost, so you're due to beat them. And then there's Carolina. So I don't know, Andrew. I think you guys are good. I think maybe that's just me being optimistic, and I think it's because of this guy, Jordan Love. I think he's the better quarterback in every single one of your remaining games. Head-to-head against the opposition, he is the better quarterback. And over his last 3 games, I know you're a big analytics guy, which is why I wrote this down. 8 touchdowns, no picks through the last 3 games. How do you evaluate him this season, especially what he's done these last 3 weeks?
Well, yeah, like you were saying, he's 5th in the league in passing touchdowns. He has the same touchdown interception ratio as Patrick Mahomes, 22-10. He has more passing yards than he's 18th in the league in passing yards, but there's so many more quarterbacks who are making a lot more money than him who have less passing yards than him. Russell Wilson, like we were saying, why am I blanking right now? But Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield, making more money than him. He's outplaying Baker Mayfield this year, and I think he will going into this. He's been an above-average NFL quarterback on a slightly below-average offensive line, which I think is much more than you can ask out of not a rookie, but a first-year starting quarterback who worked those years with Aaron Rodgers. He came into the season expecting to get the job done. Didn't look great right away, but he's been more than anybody could have asked as of late. And I think with that offense, the reason it's going really well is because I know that in terms of the receiving corps, everybody has been either in the NFL as long as him or less. The entire offense now is running behind him and guys that came into the league with him or after him. And Matt LaFleur was able to develop all of those guys around Jordan Love throughout the time that it was the Devontae Adams show and all the other shows that it was under Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, definitely. And talking about those pieces in this offense, one of the biggest things, and I was mentioning this earlier in the show, one of your biggest losses is Aaron Jones. And I'm kind of curious to see what you think about how this Packers offense has been without him and how the identity of this offense is changing as they're almost like progressing and like almost leaving him behind in a way.
I don't. That's actually a good way to put it. Obviously, he is a veteran piece. You want him in this lineup day in and day out on that depth chart. But if you look at A.J. Dillon, he's been phenomenal. He doesn't have a lot of touchdowns. He doesn't have explosive plays, but he gets the extra yardage. He's a big guy. He powers through very good defensive lines. But Jordan Love, one point I want to get back on him is he finishes the job. Of the Packers' 26 touchdowns this year, 22 of them are passing touchdowns from him. And of the 6 rushing touchdowns, 2 of them are from Love. So 24 out of the 28 Packers touchdowns have come out of Love. and it's almost always the passing game. He finishes the job. A.J. Dillon will get them down the field, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 4th and inches. He will 9 out of 10 times get you the job, keep the drive running, move the chains, and Jordan Love will find a way once you get into the red zone to get it into the end zone, which is what Aaron Rodgers always did. But think about A.J. Dillon. He's a captain on this team, and him and Jordan Love have been Packers the same amount of time, about an hour apart. Jordan Love was a first-round pick, and A.J. Dillon was a second. They've been Packers the same amount of time. They developed together. When it was Rodgers and Jones as the QB1 and RB1 in practice, working with the first class, and then when it comes to the secondary guys, it was always Love and Dillon practicing during training camps, and then during the regular season, it was always they were the second crew working with the secondary receivers who were all now the starters. So obviously you want Aaron Jones there. He's obviously someone who can be an addition, and he's definitely better than A.J. Dillon, but A.J. Dillon works really well with Jordan Love, and the scheme of that offense works perfectly with or without Jones. I hate to say it, but Jones's leadership will be very much presented when it comes playoff time. But as of now, this offense with A.J. Dillon is fine.
We have a comment from Nelson. Has Jordan Love started a road game in December before? I don't think so.
Well, no, he never started till this year.
Right? Yes. I'm drawing a blank. I'm going to say no on that, Andrew.
Yeah, if
no.
I had to guess, probably not either. I mean, I wouldn't really worry too much about that. The hardest weather is the Green Bay, Minnesota area anyway, the whole NFC North, Chicago and Detroit. So I think if you can play in that conference at home in this weather, you can play anywhere.
Kevin says Giants win by 7. Kevin, I appreciate your optimism. We know Andrew has some outlandish takes on his baseball show, but I appreciate your optimism. I'll say that. I'll get to our predictions in a moment. But next question. Defensively, I love your front seven. I really do. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Lucas Van Ness is a backup right now, and he's a first-round pick sitting behind Preston Smith and Rashawn Gary. I mean, those two guys are phenomenal. And Lucas Van Ness, and I'm looking, who the hell is Carl Brooks? I mean, this 6th-round pick that is just coming onto the scene. You have Devontae Wyatt and Kenny Clark, who's been a monster for a while. Quay Walker, Devondre Campbell's back healthy in the middle. But who do you think has stepped up most where your weakness lies, in my opinion? Jair Alexander and Eric Stokes have both been sidelined. I believe Alexander is back to the questionable status. I'm not so sure. That's why we have you. But who has stepped up? I know I just mentioned a lot of guys. I think it's a combination of everybody. But I want to know what you think.
I would completely agree, because while obviously we want to talk about the secondary who's stepped up there, but it's really the front seven stepping up for that secondary, which hasn't been bad by any means. But like you were saying, Rashawn Gary, he gets the ball in the backfield time and time again. He knows how to find the ball in the backfield. Preston Smith is a sack machine, but he's been better in coverage this year, which helps out that secondary. That's something that's really been added to his game without Zadarius Smith being right next to him. And I think there's so many guys around that crew that are just being able to time and time again, like not Valentine. I might be mispronouncing his name, but he was starting the other day and he played phenomenal against the Chiefs wide receiver core, who was
Corey.
Yeah, Corey Valentine.
We drafted him, by the way.
Yeah.
And I think the way he was playing is, who is this guy? Well, he just shut down the Chiefs' offense in Jair Alexander's absence. And I think that is something that we never expected. But it's been a next man up mentality in this Packers team time and time again. Like the way that Aaron Rodgers always made just no-name receivers into stars, it feels like that's what Jordan Love is doing. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Reed, those were not household names a year ago. Now everyone knows who they are around the NFL. And the defense has really been the same way. The special teams was awful to start this year. And really the thing about special teams is it doesn't have to be phenomenal. It just has to be average as long as everyone else is picking up their slack. You just can't have special teams cost you a game. It'll rarely win you one, but it could very easily cost you one. I'm at the point for the first time now where I don't think the special teams is going to cost us a game that's winnable.
valid. Sam, do you disagree at all? I mean, I think he hit it on the head.
No, I mean, we were talking about Corey Ballantyne earlier because we were like so surprised to see him on the field. It was like having a fever dream. But yeah, I think that that's a huge step up. We were mentioning as a key to the game that us as the Giants should, jump on the fact that this is a bit of a vulnerable secondary without Alexander in there and so on and so forth. But it's not going to be a walk in the park. These guys, like Andrew was saying, like they're shutting down the Chiefs wide receivers, which to be fair, they really don't have like star wide receivers on that team right now, but it's still the Chiefs. So, we're not one to compare to the Chiefs.
That's actually another good point. Look at Patrick Mahomes. He was sacked a few times and he didn't look like Superman. He didn't have his main starting offensive line. And so if you think about it, and no one is Superman when you give them an average offensive line. Jordan Love played comparable to Patrick Mahomes because Patrick Mahomes doesn't have his star receivers that he's had in past years, and his offensive line was banged up, and Jordan Love was able to outperform him because of the resources he had, which wasn't really that much better, if it was better.
Right. Yeah, it's this Packers team is a lot better than people are anticipating them to be. And like I said, I was under the impression that this was going to be a winnable game for us, but walking into it now, it's a little bit more of a test of our strength, to be honest with you, going into a primetime game in MetLife and seeing what's going to happen.
Which kind of, leads me into my next thing. Andrew, living in New York, what do you think of this Tommy DeVito saga that's going on right now? I know you're good buddies with Brady. Do you like this? Just what are your overall thoughts on Tommy DeVito? I mean, I have to ask you, as
honestly,
Scarpaci from New York.
Yeah. I want to see him do well. I think the culture around it is very cool. I really love this energy that really is being shown by everybody around the Giants, being a local guy growing up right around MetLife, still living with his family. It's almost like he returns from college and now he goes back at home to start working, and he's right in the NFL. But yeah, I think I want to see him do well as a local guy because there aren't many star NFL players from the Northeast. It's usually West Coast and then the South, Florida, Texas, that area. So having any star players on either the Jets or Giants from the local area is a cool scenario.
Yeah. You turned your audio into a little bit of a robot there. You may just want to evaluate that for a moment. Or if you can just mute. Ooh, that's coming in a little wonky, but I will mute you there for a moment. Just it was coming in a little hot on my end. I think maybe Tommy Cutlets might have heard you there.
The strength of Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, apologies, Andrew, about that. We'll get him back in a moment, I think. But Nelson says, I remember. What's up, Nelson, by the way? I saw you had a comment earlier. Appreciate you tuning in. Not sure if he's the first-time listener, but if you are, welcome. I remember that we already lost to the Packers in December, but that was against Aaron Rodgers in 2019. This is a different matchup from what we saw back then. I mean, I think we could all say the Packers are not as good as in previous years.
For sure.
They're better than us right now. I think the Giants, and Sam brought up some good points earlier. I think with DeVito, I think the Giants can play respectable football. And Sam, tell me if you agree. I think we can play to the level of our competition at this point. I really do. I think the Giants can play to the Packers level. I think it might be a one-possession game. So overall, I'm happy with where we're at as a football team right now. I'm not rolling out of bed on Sunday and saying, oh, here we go again.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, that's what I was talking about earlier when I was saying that, this is going to be a competitive game because, we've kind of turned into this whether or not the talent itself has changed, the confidence and the morale has changed. And that's a big impact on a team. Tyrod Taylor was doing his job, but maybe he just doesn't have that locker room. And Daniel Jones was in and out, and he was struggling with his injuries and so on and so forth, not really grasping a locker room at that point in time. But overall, I definitely think that, yes, the Packers have been better in the past with Aaron Rodgers. But to be fair, this is Jordan Love's first year starting. And, it could go in several different directions here. But the more that we've been talking about this game, the more excited I am to watch it, because I do feel like this is quite up in the air. And I actually don't know what the line is on this game. I assume it's in the favor of the Packers despite being on the road. But I'm interested to see what the line is, because tells a lot about the game.
This morning it was 6.5. I don't know if that's it. I'd imagine it still is because it's
That's a
only
one-possession
Tuesday.
game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a one-possession game.
It's not bad. Quickly here, I know we talked about our Packers players to watch before. I will just add that I think any Georgia player on your defense is phenomenal. And I think Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt are future stars. So Packers fans, if you're listening, I am very concerned about those two. But for me, the two linebackers in the middle. Andrew mentioned that Dylan's been doing his thing. I really like Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden. Also, shout out Talking Giants. I know we've had a couple of their guys on the show in the past. They interviewed Micah McFadden last night on their show. So great get for those guys. Very happy for them. I just think that those two are so in sync with each other and the way they play, just flawlessly moving around the field. And, both of them they've played through injuries this year. I think McFadden missed one game. Bobby O's played in every game. And you could tell neither of those guys are 100%, but they're just tough dudes that just go out and they play. They don't complain. They don't complain about being hurt or anything. They just go in there and do their jobs. And Bobby Okereke with 113 tackles on the year and 4 forced fumbles. Him and McFadden both have a knack of causing turnovers. And I think their development, specifically McFadden, who's been here for 2 years now, is watching him to stay as the defensive coordinator in 2024.
Yeah. No, I would think so. Because of the way that the defense has improved over these years and over these weeks, rather. We were kind of in and out this entire season. It was kind of going back and forth, but the defense is something that has remained incredibly consistent these last few weeks. And we heavily rely on them to win games. It's like kind of scary how much we have to rely on our defense, because sometimes we're relying on them to turn the ball over and score the points in order to get points on the board. So yeah, I don't see any big changes happening with this defense anytime soon.
I'm with you. Sam, who are you watching though in this game?
Giants-wise, I gotta throw Tommy DeVito out there. I think we should all be watching Tommy DeVito. I think we all will be watching Tommy DeVito. Just to see what it's like coming off of a bye week. He had 2 wins under his belt going into the bye. It's a great way to go into a bye week, but it was the Commanders and it was the Patriots. This is not high-level competition. But to say that you have a win under your belt from Bill Belichick is a nice thing to have on your resume. But nonetheless, Tommy DeVito is going to be a big guy to watch. And I'm just going to say the offensive line as a whole, just to say, if Tommy DeVito isn't sacked 10 times, isn't on the floor, is given the time to throw the ball, like I've said so many times this year, I see us having a little bit more of a field day. I see Tommy DeVito hurling that ball up in the air like a chicken parm vodka sauce sandwich and just hoping it lands in the end zone. So I'd say he's going to be one of my main guys, and the offensive line as a whole.
Yeah, I love Tommy DeVito. I think Saquon, too, is another guy that really needs to be highlighted here. Andrew, who would you steal from the Giants? Who's one player that you really wish you would have on the Green Bay Packers? I have to throw this one at you a little bit. And who are you keeping an eye on Sunday?
I would probably have to go with Thibodeau. The defensive line, obviously Kenny Clark is strong. The defensive line is good, but Thibodeau as an addition would be an incredible addition to an already decently strong defensive front. And I think he would be the most powerful addition. Or even Darren Waller I mean, Kraft isn't bad. We don't use a lot of tight end offense. We never really did under Rodgers. We did a couple years depending on who the tight ends were. I don't think Kraft is going to be a big addition in this upcoming game against the Giants. But I would have to say that I would believe Darren Waller as our tight end and Thibodeau would be the two best players that we could probably add.
Mike DeSantos says, "Go Giants." What's up, Mike? Make sure it's 8:30 p.m. here on the Review and Preview Sports Network. Appreciate it, Mike, as always. Now, for me, I think one more guy that I want to keep an eye on too. I know Sam mentioned Romeo Doubs earlier. I also think Jaden Reed, second-round pick, is a guy that's been phenomenal for them. I don't know, Sam, if you have anything to add on him, but he has 5 or more targets in each of the last 4 games. He's kind of that third receiver that nobody talks about.
Yeah. No, he literally is. He is a guy that is kind of under the radar a little bit. Nobody's really paying as much attention to him as they are Dobbs and Watson. But these guys are all threats, I think, in terms of the way Jordan Love is playing and his targets, because it really doesn't seem like it matters who he's throwing to. It's just a matter of him throwing the ball. So all these guys are threats, but Reed is definitely somebody to keep your eye on because it could kind of sneak up on us, and we might find him in the end zone at some point.
Right. No, absolutely. I think Reed is a guy that is going to be very, very good for them. But finally, quick here. Packers are shorthanded. Giants, no Evan Neal in practice today or Dexter Lawrence. Neal's still nursing the knee. Sexy Daxy with the hamstring. Darren Waller still on IR. Let's get to our game predictions. Andrew, just a heads up. It looks like your back's still a little wonky, but if you can hear us, we'll get to your game prediction, and then we'll let you sign off. Who are you picking, and what's your final score?
How do I sound?
You sound okay. So
Do I sound okay?
you're good. A little bit better. Still a little wonky coming in, but who do you have winning this game, and what's your final?
I got to go Packers 31-14.
Oh. Oof.
Ooh. 17-point win.
I think Jordan Love gets 4 touchdowns. I think DeVito gets 2. I think DeVito has a good game. But I think Love spreads the wealth. I think Watson, Dobbs, Reed, and A.J. Dillon all get a reception touchdown. I think they both throw for nearly 300 yards, but I think Love outperforms Tommy DeVito, and that offense cruises through that Packers defense. Because in terms of what we're going up against, the Giants secondary isn't that good. I think the Packers, or rather, Thibodeau is good on your guys' defensive line, and your secondary is okay. So I think a lot of our receivers will be locked up a lot of the game, but I think we have the higher opportunity for explosive plays with the speed of guys like Watson, because I don't think you guys have as much speed as we do on the outside. So I think we have a chance for a few more explosive plays, and I think A.J. Dillon has that chance to fight for extra yards. I think he'll be able to hold down the defense 5-6 yards at a time, average about 5-6 yards a rush, to just drown out the energy of that Giants defense. And I think that's when we're going to see the explosive plays. It's going to be a lot of run first, and then Love is going to finish it at the other end.
Okay, so 31-14 Green Bay. Sam, who do you got? And we'll final.
I'm giving us a little bit more grace here. I do think that the Packers are going to squeak out the win on us, but I'm going to say 21-17. I think it's going to be pretty close. I think it's going to end up coming down to some field goals. I think that DeVito is going to put up a fight. I think that the defense is going to put up a fight. I like to think that this is going to be a lot closer than people think it is.
Okay, so we have Andrew, 31-14. Sam, 17. I also have Green Bay, but 24-17. Unfortunately, it's a clean sweep for Green Bay here. I think the Giants keep it tight. I think the Giants might be down 2 possessions late. They come in and score a touchdown late, but they're unable to come back and tie the game. So, yeah, I think Green Bay improves to 7-6, but I do think the Giants show a lot of promise heading into that New Orleans Saints game in Week 15. Andrew, we appreciate having you on and your time. We wish you a good night and best of luck on Monday night. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me on. Sorry about all the technical difficulties. The one mic didn't work on the computer. I tried the other one. The camera didn't work. So, but yeah, as long as all the points got through, hopefully it was all right and legible.
No worries, Andrew. Appreciate you. Have a good one.
Thank you, Andrew.
You too. Thank you.
That was Andrew Scarpaci, Green Bay Packers fan from New York. There's a lot of them in New York. They travel well. Sam, any final thoughts here? I'm just thinking that I hope Tommy DeVito plays really well. And yes, Nelson, I am excited about the quarterback decision. We get to see what we have, like we've been doing the last couple weeks. I really think DeVito has potential. If he blows us away, then you might have to start considering some things. Maybe next year it's Daniel Jones versus Tommy DeVito rather than Daniel Jones versus a rookie. Who knows? There's a lot that can go on these last 5 games. If DeVito comes in and beats Philadelphia once and plays well or whatnot, I mean, if they sweep Philadelphia, then I think you got to consider making him the starter. If they beat Philly twice, which won't happen, in my opinion. But if he that's all I've really got to say.
Yeah, no, I think we said it all so far this show. I'm excited for this game. I'm excited to watch it. And I think that it's going to be entertaining. Like I've said, the competition will be there. And yeah, let's just see what Tommy DeVito can do up against a team that is a little bit tougher than his last 2 opponents.
I'm with you. Excited for that competition on Monday Night Football and to see if DeVito can beat a playoff team on prime time. Excited for him to get that spotlight. Folks, he does this every show. No sweep of the Eagles. Where's the faith, Tommy boy?
Brian, how do you know when we're logging off?
He does this
every time.
Every time, and I love it. I'm Brian McCardle. I just want to say I'm so sorry about Florida State. They should have made the college football playoff. Your prediction on our week 1 show would have been correct. Guessing that make it either Georgia, Bama, or LSU would. Appreciate you, Brian. Appreciate you, Steve, Cold G. You're awesome as always. All the way out from Arizona, checking us out. Brian from Florida. Appreciate you all, folks. If you're tuned in, make sure 4 Corners live at 8:30 p.m. on Review and Preview Sports. Sam Cardona, on behalf of her, I'm Tom Scavetta saying so long. Great show, Sam, as always. And without further ado, let's go Big Blue.